The first jet fighter didn't change the war. The second one didn't either, but together, they changed aviation forever. Because while Germany rushed a revolutionary aircraft into combat, Britain quietly built a jet that almost nobody talks about, and then deliberately kept it away from the fight. This is the story of two airplanes that represented completely different ideas about the future. One was fast, deadlier, and terrifyingly advanced. The other simply worked. I'm Bill, and this is Buffalo Air Park. Let's dive in. By 1944, propeller fighters had reached an incredible level of performance. Mustangs, Spitfires, and FW-190s were already pushing the limits of what piston engines could do. And then suddenly, jets appeared. No propeller, no torque roll, just a rising howl and raw speed. Germany introduced the Messerschmitt Me 262, the SWAL, or Swallow. It looked like it had arrived from 20 years in the future. Swept wings, underslung engines, predator stance. But here's the secret most people don't know. Those swept wings weren't originally designed for speed. The engines came in heavier than expected, throwing off the aircraft's balance. Engineers swept the wings back simply to fix the center of gravity. They accidentally stumbled into high-speed aerodynamics while solving a weight problem. Across the channel, Britain had its own jet fighter, the Gloster Meteor. Pilots nicknamed it the Meat Box, not exactly flattering. It had straight wings, thick engine nacelles, and looked almost conventional, like a normal fighter someone had carefully converted into a jet. And that difference tells you everything. The Me 262 was designed for performance. The Meteor was designed to survive. The German Me 262 used axial flow turbojets, sleek engines where air moved straight through the compressor. This is the basic layout still used in modern jet engines. But Germany had a problem. By 1944, critical metals like nickel and chromium were in short supply. Without them, turbine blades couldn't withstand extreme heat, so engineers built engines from lower grade steel and hoped they would last long enough. Typical engine life? 10 to 25 hours. That's not maintenance, that's a timer. Throttle too quickly and the engine can flame out, or catch fire. And starting the engine was almost unbelievable. Inside the intake sat a tiny two-stroke piston motor, a Riedel starter engine. If the electric starter failed, a mechanic literally pulled a ripcord. Yes, the world's most advanced fighter jet could be started like a lawnmower. The Meteor used centrifugal flow engines based on Frank Whittle's design. They were wider, less aerodynamic, and frankly, a little bulky. But Britain had access to high-quality alloys. Meteor engines could run 150 hours or more between overhauls. Pilots could move the throttle freely without fear of destroying the engine. The Me 262 was a technological leap. The Meteor was dependable engineering. Speed versus reliability. In the air, the Me 262 was extraordinary. With a top speed around 540 miles per hour and 4 devastating 30mm cannons, it could tear through bomber formations before escort fighters could react. German ace Adolf Galland described flying it as feeling as if angels were pushing. But performance came with a price. Jet engines responded slowly, making takeoffs and landings dangerous. Allied pilots quickly learned they didn't need to chase jets at altitude. They simply waited near airfields. As jets slowed to land, Mustangs and Thunderbolts attacked, a tactic known as the Rat Scramble. The fastest aircraft in the war became the most vulnerable when moving slowly. Meanwhile, the Meteor wasn't sent over Germany at all. British leadership feared that if one crashed behind enemy lines, jet technology could be captured. So instead, the Meteor defended Britain itself, primarily hunting V-1 flying bombs. And this led to one of the most remarkable moments of early jet aviation. On August 4, 1944, Flying Officer Dixie Dean was chasing a V-1 when his guns jammed. At nearly 450 miles per hour, he pulled alongside the missile, slid a wingtip beneath it, and gently lifted. The disturbed airflow flipped the bomb's gyroscope, sending it tumbling to destruction. No gunfire, no explosion, just a jet fighter tipping over a robot bomb with precision flying. The jet age had officially become strange. The two aircraft never met in combat, but one man flew both. British test pilot Eric Winkle Brown, who flew more aircraft types than anyone in history, called the Me-262 the most formidable aircraft of World War II. It was faster, more advanced, a quantum leap forward. But he also noted something important. The Meteor was easier to fly, more stable as a gun platform, and vastly more reliable. Even Adolf Galland admitted that if he could have placed British engines inside the Me-262 airframe, he would have had the perfect fighter. When the war ended, the Me-262 vanished almost overnight. Too complex, too fragile, too tied to a collapsing wartime industry. The Meteor, however, continued flying for decades, even serving into the 1980s in secondary roles. And in one Aviation history's stranger footnotes, Brazil purchased Meteors after the war, paying not with money, but with 15,000 tons of raw cotton. Speed had won headlines. Reliability won history. The Me-262 showed the world what jet fighters could become. The Gloster Meteor proved what they needed to be. One arrived like the future, the other carried aviation into it. And that wraps up another tale from aviation's stranger side. Until next time, keep your eyes on the skies.